The Canadian Association of Management Consultants was established by 10 founding firms in 1963. While CAMC was primarily a trade association, its objectives were broader, and they included the training and certification of individuals. It was the foresight and action of these leaders who started CAMC, which served as the catalyst to start the development and maturation of the management consulting profession in Canada. On the occasion of this Golden Jubilee milestone, it is an opportune time to pause and remember our rich pedigree. In the next few minutes, we will highlight some of the key builders and milestones of our association and the management consulting profession. But there are thousands of dedicated and passionate volunteers who have helped build our association. Tonight, we acknowledge their work and salute them.
Well, it's one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue suede shoe. Well, you can do anything but take over my blue suede shoe.
While management consulting in the U.S. grew out of Frederick Taylor's scientific management experiments pre-World War II, Canadian firms grew in the post-World War II period. There was little structure, and there were questionable players that caused concern amongst all of the players. American consultants seemed to dominate the marketplace in the 1950s.
Yes, that's right. About 50% of all the management consulting that was being done in Canada at that point in time, particularly in Ontario, was being done by American firms. The big ones, McKinsey, Arthur D. Little, A.T. Kearney, there were a great many of them. And they were all getting very fat fees, not only on per diems, but the totals were very large. And so that caught the attention of a number of people. And so they decided we better find a way of competing. And one of the things was to show that we were as good or better than they were.
In 1956, the Quebec Institute of Chartered Accountants established a special committee to study the ethical and other considerations relating to management consulting practices conducted by chartered accountants. This committee was chaired by James J. McDonnell, partner of Price Waterhouse and the future Auditor General of Canada. In the December 1957 issue of Canadian Chartered Accountant, MacDonnell wrote an article titled "The Professional Practice of Management Advisory Services." MacDonnell stated the best way to raise the awareness of the competence of the work was the development and maintenance of the highest possible standards for the application of the skills in this art. This was a call to build stature for the infant profession from within. In February 1958, the Quebec Institute adopted rules that allowed CAs to carry on a management consulting practice under a separate name, providing that they conformed in all respects to the established rules of the professional conduct for Institute members. Consultants themselves led an effort to organize and take responsibility for the orderly and disciplined growth of their field. In 1960, the Quebec Committee was expanded to include representatives of all CA firms in Quebec that practiced management consulting.
Across the USA, then everybody be served like California.
In 1962, the meetings were again broadened as the committee felt the heads of these management consulting groups, whether they were CAs or not, should be brought together. In May 1962, at the University Club in Montreal, all 6 CA firms with consulting divisions in Quebec were represented, and they addressed the following question. Are there matters or areas which could be discussed by a group of individuals engaged in management consulting in different firms or in organizations which render such a discussion profitable? The answer was affirmative. It was decided that any further planning should be at the national level. A meeting at the Seigneurie Club in Montebello was organized for June 1962. These meetings were sponsored by the Quebec Institute of Chartered Accountants Management Consultants Committee and included such leaders as Howard Ross of P.S. Ross, now Deloitte, and H.C. Hayes of McDonald Curry, now PwC. In October 1962, the leaders of 10 firms formally agreed that an association of management consultants in Canada was necessary and should be formed. From its earliest meetings, the founders' groups envisioned a professional membership for individuals engaged in management consulting. The leaders of these firms were highly competitive. Jeff Clarkson of Woods Gordon is given much of the credit for getting the heads of the firms together, convincing them to put aside their differences, reconciling their personality clashes, and promoting the virtues of cooperation. Like Jim McDonnell, Clarkson appreciated that for consulting to become recognized as a profession, knowledge and experience must be shared. A profession cannot advance through spotty achievements by individuals who guard their expertise as secrets of their own.
I think so. Jeff was quiet-spoken, never raised his voice, a thoughtful, kind man who ran a very successful consulting firm. One of the first, I think of the two basic fundamental firms in Canada were probably Woods Gordon and Stevenson Kellogg. He would be the one I would credit most with the establishment of the Canadian Association of Management Consultants in 1963.
On July 4th, 1963, the Canadian Association of Management Consultants was established. Jeff Clarkson served as the association's first president.
One of the aims when we formed CIMC was to start up institutes, because we recognized that personal accreditation, personal recognition, was at the heart of what we were seeking to do. That if we were going to achieve our goal of establish certification for individual consultants, we obviously needed criteria in which to judge whether a person met those qualifications, so we needed a common body of knowledge. How do you acquire one? How do you set one up? How do you go about it? That was one of the early challenges we had.
Hits the empty net. It's all over. The Toronto Maple Leafs have won the Stanley Cup.
First institutes were established in Quebec and Ontario. The first management consultant certifications were awarded soon thereafter. Institutes were established in every province: British Columbia 1973, Alberta 1977, Manitoba 1977, Atlantic 1982, and Saskatchewan 1990. In 1973, British Columbia's institute was established. Alberta and Manitoba followed in 1977. Atlantic became the first regional institute, combining the provinces of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland, and Labrador. Coordinating the 4 provinces and the provincial governments was no small feat. In 1982, Joe Martin of Touche-Ross, now Deloitte, as president of the Institute of Management Consultants of Ontario, challenged his colleagues to develop a vision. Martin's vision called for legislation that recognized the profession, right to title by 1987, and right to practice by 1999.
I believe it is imperative that the Institute have a vision, a dream. And I think the vision, the dream, should be certification by 87, licensure by 99.
Well, no, I think we had a very good professional affairs committee. Don King really took this to heart. He came from a great firm, Stevenson Kellogg.
Then I became chairman of that professional development committee, and so it was automatic that people like Joe Martin, Don Hathaway, Ron Denham, and he gave us good advice. He said, yeah, you might as well go for it if you believe in it. If you don't believe in it, it won't work anyway. But if you believe in it, it's going to take time. So because you have to make sure all that your policies and practices are in shape according to the Ontario government requirements. But so I remember standing in the rain outside with 3 or 4 of these other fellows, and what do we do now? And we agreed, let's go for it.
In 1983, the province of Ontario became the first jurisdiction in the world to recognize the Certified Management Consultant designation. Legislation was subsequently passed in all 10 provinces in Canada: Atlantic 1985, Manitoba 1986, British Columbia 1989, Alberta 1991, Quebec in 1993, and Saskatchewan in 1998.
Let me just tell you what inspired me to be so concerned about free trade. Well, back in '72, when the Canada Cup was to be played, I asked guys who knew more about hockey than I did, what's going to happen between Canada and Russia? And everybody told me that if the Russians were lucky, they'd win 1 game. And we only won at the last minute with Paul Henderson's overtime goal. And I said, well, why did my friends who were knowledgeable think we were so much better than the Russians? It's because we weren't exposed to them. And I said, okay, in life, let's have the best, our best against their best, whether it's in hockey or management consulting. And certainly, I think the free trade agreement opened up terrific opportunities for Canadian consultants.
In 1985-86, the Government of Canada was negotiating the free trade agreement with the United States. CAMC published a landmark white paper advocating for free trade. 20 consulting firms endorsed this paper, and it was widely distributed. Martin received a letter of thanks from U.S. Vice President George Bush. The Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement came into effect in 1987. Management consultants were included as one of the professions that are allowed access across the border thanks to CMC-Canada's lobbying effort. This is now included in NAFTA. In 1986, the Manitoba Institute hired graphic artist Pat Stanton to develop a new logo. The CMC Racetrack logo was adopted by all the Canadian institutes and CMAC. Today, the CMC Racetrack logo is used by all 45 member institutes of ICMCI around the world. In 1987, CAMC was one of the 6 founding institutes of the International Council of Management Consulting Institutes. Saskatchewan became the final province to have an institute when it was founded in 1990. It took 27 years to get institutes across Canada and a lot of hard work by committed individuals who cared about professionalism.
I recall when Heather Osler called me one day to tell me that Saskatchewan was the only province in Canada without a provincial CMC Institute. If you've ever met Heather, you know that she can be quite persuasive. So as the managing partner for KPMG's consulting practice in Saskatchewan at the time, I called my colleagues/competitors at Deloitte, Ernst & Young, and Coopers & Lybrand, and we got together over dinner one night and discussed Heather's proposal. A few months later, with a lot of help from Heather, the Saskatchewan Institute was formed, and I became its inaugural president. The interesting thing about that dinner was that while we were all fierce competitors in the market, we had a common bond to develop the profession. This is
In 1993, the Quebec Institute of Certified Management Consultants partnered with the Ordre des Administrateurs Agréés du Québec. The OAAQ manages the CMC designation in Quebec along with the ADM-A designation. The CMC was included in Quebec's professional code the same year. The Alberta Institute partnered with CMC-Canada in 2008 and hosted a multi-day conference in the Kananaskis, headlined by Guru David Maister. The same year, CMC-Canada established the Executive Stream Task Force to attract senior, experienced business advisors to our membership. In 2010, the Canadian Consulting Agrologists Association joined forces with CMC-Canada. Partnerships exist with a number of other professional associations, including the CMAs, Human Resources Professionals, and the Canadian Telecommunications Consultants, to name a few. In 2011, CMC Canada helped Statistics Canada launch the Consulting Price Index. Consult magazine was recognized in 2012 as the best association magazine in Canada by the Canadian Society for Association Executives. Today, CMC Canada and the institutes have evolved their certification process to admit professionals from various career stages. CMC Canada serves as a leader in ICMCI, which now boasts a membership of 45 countries. A new campaign is set to launch, building awareness amongst CAs. CMC Canada has a seat on the federal government's Supplier Advisory Committee, and the CMC movement continues thanks to the efforts of dedicated and passionate individuals who are generous of their time and who lend their skills to advance our profession.
There were people like MacDonnell, like George Curry, like Gordon Cowperthwaite, any number of others, Jeff Clarkson, who were really dedicated to the profession and did their best efforts to make sure things happened that would bring us to where we are today.
I wear it with pride. I wear it all the time. Actually, I don't wear it all the time. The only time I don't wear it is when I go to a Rotary meeting, when I wear a Rotary pin. But other than that, my CMC Canada pin is on my lapel.
Since I joined, I was able to become the chapter chair in Victoria for about 5 years and had a lot of fun with that, building the membership. And that evolved to a seat on the BC Council, where I was involved again in membership development and links to academia. I now teach at Royal Roads University. And then from there, again, a bit of serendipity, I was able to move on and work with the international body, the ICMCI. And I
got involved long before I earned my CMC, because the CMC didn't exist in those days. But I always wanted to be involved in the profession.
Chantal Dalpé, présidente du conseil d'administration de l'Ordre des administrateurs agréés. Je suis en compagnie de la permanence de l'Ordre, de bénévoles de la section CMC Québec, ainsi que du président de CMC Québec, M. Anthony Gagnon. Alors, à mon nom personnel, au nom du conseil d'administration de l'Ordre des administrateurs agréés, de tous les administrateurs agréés, ainsi que des membres CMC, nous soulignons le 50e anniversaire de CMC. Alors, santé!
On behalf of the members and staff of IMC USA, I'd like to offer my congratulations as you celebrate the 50th anniversary of the founding of your institute. CMC Canada has led the way in communicating the value of professionalism and certification in the marketplace. Here in the U.S., as we celebrate Thanksgiving, I'd like to express our gratitude to the members and staff of CMC Canada.
I'm proud to be a CMC because I think it is a cut above. I believe we are the voice of management consulting, and I've really enjoyed all the folks that I've worked with and met through this association.
I really strongly believe that the best way to make things happen is to get involved. I've learned a lot from my involvement with both CMC Canada and ICMCI, and I've really enjoyed the camaraderie of the other consultants that I've had a chance to work with and the friendships that I've been able to gain.
I would really encourage any consultants that want to become better at their job and more fully committed to the profession to take advantage of the networking and professional development opportunities that are offered at the provincial, national, and international level.
After joining, almost immediately I was contacted by the local chapter and asked to join the council and volunteer. Always being one to pitch in, I thought I would join and get a chance to network and meet some of the leaders in the industry. And
why the CMC designation? Quite simple. I made a career choice to focus on the consulting profession early in my career. I wanted a professional designation that aligned with that choice and spoke to the fact that I was striving to be the best I could within the consulting world, and was operating under rules of professional conduct and code of ethics that has resonated well with my clients, and I've been very proud to carry the CMC designation.
I am proud to be a CMC as I recognize myself as a professional in the values and commitments that are the basis of the designation.
Hello, my name is A. Patricia, and the GTA chapter chair.
My name is Hussam Shah, and I'm the vice chair of the GTA chapter.
My name is Anthony Lorius, and I have no idea what I'm doing on the board.
My name is Rod Howland, and I'm a member at large.
Hi, Bob Coffey, member at large, and I run the first Thursday event.
The Pop Night.